Yeah, we back. Now, today's gonna be a quick video. Gonna be reacting to this individual who put out this video in regards to the history of South Africa. And for whatever reason, in his little clip, he was taking shots at Pan-Africanism. I don't know what is going on. Like I said, Pan-Africanism is just, they use Pan-Africanism for target practice. It's a scapegoat, right? Whether it's the French Economic School of Warfare, whether it's some, 46-year-old guy in the comment section, or whether it's some random white dude trying to rewrite history. For whatever reason, the attacks keep coming. But anyways, I'm gonna get into this clip of this guy, giving his historical account when it comes to history. But anyway, not wasting no time, let's go.
Whites of South Africa are native. What do I mean by that? I mean that South Africa prior to colonization was not inhabited. The only group that inhabited South Africa around the time of the Dutch's arrival was the Khoisan. The Khoisan are a nomadic people and they look like other South African populations, meaning they don't look like what we consider black. The black people of South Africa largely came later, many of which around the same time as the Dutch. They largely came from modern day Cameroon. And so the argument that you hear that black South Africans are like the indigenous and these white people are terrible colonizers, that comes from Pan-Africanism. That comes from Pan-Africanism. The Dutch settlers that colonized South Africa, they did so on land where people were not living. The bush of South Africa is not conducive to building a society. The Khoisan were nomadic and a very, very small population that we're not even sure naturally comes from South Africa. And so if the Dutch were the first people to build a permanent settlement in South Africa, that makes them indigenous.
All right, we back. Now, I don't know what we did to these people, but for whatever reason, if you're a black man that just loves your people, for whatever reason, you the scapegoat, right? You the target. Everybody got something to say, right? The white man got something to say. The ethnic supremacists got something to say. Everybody got something to say, man. Meanwhile, we just minding our business. We just want to see our people prosper and live a dignified existence. But for whatever reason, man, we the target, and I'll be honest, it gets exhausting. It gets exhausting. Even today, I was thinking about just taking a break, to be real with you. I'll be honest with you. I really contemplated today just taking a step back for real. Because at the end of the day, I'm only one man. I can't go around debunking everybody by myself. We dealing with ignorance inside the family and we dealing with hostile energy from the outside. So, I'm not gonna lie, man, it definitely be taking a toll sometimes, but we gotta keep it pushing. We gotta keep pushing. But in the clip, you heard what he said, right? Basically, he said that the history as we know it is all a fabrication, right? The history that we know that these foreigners arrived from faraway lands and settled on the continent, that's a lie, right? And in fact, he said, the Europeans are the real natives of the territory. He said the Europeans are native to that region, and it's actually the blacks that are foreigners, right? The blacks came from Cameroon, right? The blacks are foreigners, and the white man is actually indigenous. He's a native African man. That's what the guy said. And he said that the entire narrative about the European settlers being these evil colonists, that was just a fabrication. That was a lie made up by the Pan-Africanists, right? The Pan-Africanists came with some fake history, right? But the real history is that the white man is native to South Africa, and the black man is actually a foreigner from Cameroon, right? I know it's crazy. The propaganda, it never stopped, man. The propaganda never stopped. Like I said before, these individuals, this demographic in particular, are masters of propaganda. I give them props in regards to that. When it comes to fabricating a narrative, when it comes to promoting a certain image, when it comes to rewriting history, when it comes to just coming with fabrications and exaggerations, no other demographic comes close to the European. No other demographic comes close. They are excellent when it comes to the arena of propaganda and falsifying narratives. Even if the narrative makes no sense, they'll come with some straight BS, but they'll genuinely believe it, right? Because I went into this guy's comment section and he had a bunch of people, agreeing with what he was saying. First of all, the clip got like 60,000 likes, right? First of all, 60,000 likes. And when you go to the comment section, this person said this: "Oh, this is true. I'm a native white Afrikaner." Another person said, "Wow, someone is actually speaking facts." Another person said, "I knew this as a kid. I used to piss people off by saying the facts that were meant to be hidden." And that's just a few comments that I've seen. So even though they'll come with some fake, fabricated, exaggerated narrative, they'll genuinely believe it and they'll put it in literature and they'll repeat it and they'll disseminate it across the world and have other people believe in it. So like I said, when it comes to the arena of propaganda, they are excellent when it comes to this sector of activity. Now, let's take a look at some of the reactions on social media, right? This person said this: Every great colonist story starts with the empty land theory, closely followed by a migration theory. This is not new. Now, that's a fact, right? Even going back to the story of Columbus, they always make it seem like they just happened to, come across an empty, barren landmass. But what's new is that this is the first time where I've seen them actually, target and try to discredit Pan-Africanists, right? Saying, oh, that's just some fabrication that was created by the Pan-Africanists, right? The Pan-Africanists claim that blacks are native to South Africa. What? I'm trying to figure out, why did he attack Pan-Africanists? Why didn't he just target the black South Africans? Because it's not only the Pan-Africanists who say that. I mean, you have black South Africans who say the same exact thing. The black South Africans say that they are native to that area, in that region, right? It's not just the Pan-Africanists, but he tried to throw a shot in there, and I'm just like, I don't understand, why is Pan-Africanism the scapegoat? Why is that? Why is that the target practice? And what can we do to make people stop being so comfortable making it the easy scapegoat for whenever they want to take a shot at something or discredit somebody? They make the Pan-Africanist the face of everything negative. I don't understand. There is nothing wrong with the Pan-Africanist saying that the black South Africans are native to that landmass and European men are foreigners from faraway lands. That's not a Pan-Africanist conspiracy theory. That's simply the historical narrative. That's a fact. I don't understand this, bro. I don't understand the current political climate where the Pan-Africanist is the scapegoat for all targets. I really don't get it. I don't understand it. But that's simply the climate that we are living in. And what's crazy, this guy is not even a South African. He's not even from South Africa. He is a white guy from Washington, D.C. He just a regular white conservative guy from Washington, D.C. That's why I'm saying these guys are all on one accord. He don't got nothing to do with that. But because he's standing in solidarity with his brothers, because they're white, the white South Africans, based on that commonality, he's pushing this fake propaganda of the native white South African that was already there, right? So he's standing in unity with his white brothers in South Africa, but he's trying to throw shots at the Pan-Africanists, saying that the Pan-Africanists are just pushing fake propaganda and fake history, and that the black South Africans are migrants from Cameroon and the white man is native to South Africa. What universe are we living in right now, bro? Like, I don't understand the world at all right now, bro. I don't understand the world, the amount of misinformation and disinformation and just propaganda that's just being just sent out through the atmosphere. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. But anyway, let's continue. This person said, you cannot be native and then say prior to colonization. Exactly, man. Let's continue. This person said, your population is declining. In the next 50 to 60 years, there will be 20 Afrikaners left in the world. See, that's the conversations they should really be talking about. They really should be talking about how can they have more, fruitful families? How can they be fruitful and multiply? Instead of having conversations that serve no purpose, you really should be handling your business for real, to be honest with you. But, guys like this, this demographic and this archetype especially, he probably not even interested in fully grown women, if you know what I mean. He probably interested in other activities, alternative activities, But anyway, let's continue. This person said, so who are the whites fighting against and calling the natives? If you don't want to learn about South African history, go fly a kite instead of believing your own lies. Now, that's an excellent point. If what he says is true, right? If it was just an empty landmass and the Europeans are the true indigenous natives, then how come you had to fight for centuries, literally, to wrestle the land away from the black man who was already there? Like, for example, if you walk into an abandoned house and there's nobody there, you just walk in and sit on the couch. You can start squatting. But if somebody's already there, right, you're going to have to fight to the death. You're going to have to, literally, go toe to toe and come to blows in order to take ownership of this house that has somebody already inside of it. So we have all these documented battles that took place between Africans and foreigners. If there was nobody there, if the black man wasn't already there, then how come you fought for centuries in that region? It was several military engagements that took place in that region, right? Take a look up on the screen. Throughout the history of South Africa, European colonists fought numerous conflicts against the indigenous African peoples, such as the Khoisan, the Xhosa, and the Zulus, for control of land and resources. The fighting spanned centuries, beginning in the 17th century. Don Francisco de Almeida died in 1510 in a skirmish with the indigenous Khoi people at the Cape in modern-day South Africa. After attempting to forcefully take cattle from the Khoi, his forces were overwhelmed and he was killed along with more than 60 of his men. Now, they try to make it seem like they just walked into an empty landmass like Christopher Columbus, right? But then you have to say, well, how come the Portuguese got massacred when they came to South Africa? Then you got to ask yourself, so who was already there in South Africa if the Portuguese got massacred, right? Then they say, oh, well, the Khoisan was already there. But then they try to come with some fake propaganda and say that the Khoisan are not really black. They're not really African for real. They're like some different race, right? But that makes no sense either. But anyway, like I said, it's just propaganda, fabrication, exaggeration. So now the Khoisan aren't really black. They're not really African people. It's crazy, man. These people are out of control with this propaganda, bro. But even if you want to say that the Khoisan are not really African, which they are, then you have to say, okay, what about the military confrontations between, the Zulu and the Xhosa and all these other various indigenous Africans that were already there that you physically engage on the field of battle? But hold on, time out. I just want to go back to the Portuguese, right? The Portuguese, they got, smacked back in the 1500s in South Africa. And the Portuguese, when you look at the history of the Portuguese on the African continent, man, it was many times where the Portuguese got smacked by the indigenous African forces on the continent. In the Congo, in Angola, in Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, South Africa. It was many different regions on the continent where the Portuguese absolutely got routed. I think the Portuguese might have been the most humiliated European group when it came to military confrontations with the African man, with the black man. I think the Portuguese, we might have really embarrassed the Portuguese on many occasions. I remember there was one battle, the Portuguese, I think it was against the Kingdom of Congo. I mention this all the time. The Portuguese, at the end of the battle, they were forced to strip naked, right? This was also, I believe, back in the early 1500s, right? Strip them boys naked, humiliated the Portuguese, right? So they don't want to talk about that. They want to make all these fantastical stories, but they don't want to talk about all the times they got smacked back in the day. But anyway, let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. The massacre of 64 Portuguese sailors, including Captain Almeida, took place close to the Treaty Tree in modern day Woodstock in South Africa, right? So they want to fabricate all these exaggerated historical narratives, but they don't want to talk about how they got massacred by the indigenous native Africans that was already there. Take a look up on the screen. This person said, something worth noting, the Voortrekkers encountered the Zulus in what is today KwaZulu-Natal and attempted to purchase land from them instead of trying to take it by force. Unfortunately, even though the Voortrekkers honored their side of the deal, Dingane, the Zulu king at the time, had them executed. Now, if you were a native to the land, why did you purchase land from what you called the migrants, right? They say the black South Africans, they're migrants from the interior, of Cameroon, right? But if that's the case, why did you purchase land from them if you're a native, right? You're a native African, as you claim to be, but you're purchasing land from black foreigners, right? And of course, because the black man was native, he didn't really have to, honor a treaty with you because you're a foreigner. So yeah, he killed you and your women and children, right? Yeah, he signed the deal and then he killed you and your whole family. Now, unfortunately, my black South African brothers, similar to my video earlier, when I reacted to the speech from Captain Ibrahim Traore, we are only a fraction of the men that our forefathers were, right? We are only a fraction. Our forefathers, they were definitely cutthroat. They were definitely fearless. They definitely stood on business for real, chopping off the heads of the Europeans, signing deals with the Europeans and then killing them right after. Man, our ancestors, man, shout out to the forefathers, man. Shout out to the forefathers for real. Anyway, let's continue. This person said, they had 100 years war with the Xhosa, and you hear this level of stupidity. Exactly. Not only did they engage the Khoisan and got, massacred, they also engaged the Zulu, also got massacred. Then they also engaged the Xhosa for over 100 years. They fought a war with the Xhosa for over 100 years, right? All these native South African groups, you had military confrontations with every single one, but you claim that you're indigenous and nobody was there and you found an empty landmass. Come on, bro. Come on, the fabrications and the exaggerations, they have to stop, right? You cannot rewrite everybody's history, right? Everybody's history cannot be rewritten. You have to relax. Take a look up on the screen. The 100 Years Xhosa War refers to the series of 9 Anglo-Xhosa Wars known as the Cape Frontier Wars, which took place from 1779 to 1879 in what is now the Eastern Cape of South Africa, right? So listen, you done fought a war for over 100 years. Like, come on, bro. Like, it gets to a point where it's just like, it just has to stop. The fabrications and the lies and the exaggerations, it just has to stop. It just really has to stop, bro. And of course, we're accustomed to the lies and the falsehoods, but now this constant assault, this constant barrage of assault against Pan-Africanism, to where now we have random conservatives sitting in Washington, D.C. taking shots at Pan-Africanism, right? Like, I don't know what is happening, bro. I don't know what is going on, but I'll be honest, it gets exhausting. It gets exhausting. I'm mentally exhausted. Truthfully, I'll be real with you. I'm mentally exhausted. But I don't know, man. Maybe I just need a good night's rest, and then we're going to get back to it in the morning. You know, we see how we feeling. But anyway, I'm not going to be here too long, man. It's your boy Nefakari. That's Salim back in the building. Yes, indeed. Second single off the next project, The Spy and Bamako. Pin comment at the top. Subscribe to their Patreon, NCD1814. And I'm gone. Peace.
Feel like a see me, I feel like I'm Saudi or ran up on Yan in the middle of Bamako. Enemy line, they claiming he innocent. Don't do no talking, I gotta move militant. Don't do no talking, I hit him with facts. 1804, bringing it back. 1804 like I'm Mother Cap Henry. King with the vision, the crown never empty. Top of the mountain, my soldiers defend me. Ducking and dodging the foreign intelligence. Hitting my dance on the DGSE. Dodging they traps, still on my feet. Feeling impeccable, feel like I'm shining. Go to my neck and I'm flooded with diamonds. Go to my neck and I feel like a mess. Feel like a lion, I'm in the savannah. Feel like the king when I'm up in the jungle. Never defeated, I never been humble. Come out victorious every encounter. Money machine give me help when I count it. Money machine stack it up in a beat. Heart of a king and I ride for the team. Weight of the world got it stuck on my shoulders. Bet you can feel it, my heart getting colder. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it's in shots I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison. Hoping they wish we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in a whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in a whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater. Yeah, gotta stay focused so when it's in shots I gotta react. Cause I'm a target, I'm under attack. Grabbing a weapon, I tell her get back. Mission exposed, secrets unfold. Enemy try but I'm still in control. Got your boy sitting in Bamako prison. Hoping they wishing we sending them home. Enemy know that we good under pressure. Been through the thunderous turbulent storm. Shorty a diamond, I told her she pressure. Hop in a whip and I'm taking her home. Hop in a whip and I'm swerving, I'm smashed. Killing my enemies, one of my passion. Rocking this gold like we in bikini. Feel like the captain, I'm clutching a heater.